So this was a 4th of July reservation. 4th of July is our number one producing week out of the entire year. You're getting the most rental income. Everyone knows it. They leave. We didn't hear anything else. Thought they must be happy. Well, they called Airbnb and talked to someone, I'm sure, in the Philippines. I don't know where they talked to them. Claimed under the dangerous animal policy that they were entitled to a refund. And this is months later. Airbnb issued a full refund for their stay over 4th of July week. And we had already paid the owner out. I mean, we're talking over $5,000. Like, paid him out, closed the statement. It's months later. And, we were able to come to a resolution, and they ended up coming back and working with us on that situation. But they didn't even call us before they issued the full refund to the guest.
Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz. I'm your host, Linnell Gordon. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. I'm Linnell Gordon, your host, and I am really excited today to bring to you one of my favorite people in the industry, and I don't say that lightly. Ginger Harrelson is here today, and she's the co-owner and the chief legal officer of Beachball Properties. She is a city councilwoman for Orange Beach. She was elected this year, and she is a very passionate advocate for the vacation rental industry. She doesn't care just for her. She cares for everyone. So with a legal background that she has and a marketing mind, guys, she helps guide property owners through the complex world of short-term rentals while she champions responsible tourism, community partnerships, industry professionalism. And she's not afraid to go up against the big guys when they do bad things that affect our industry, which you all know that happens. We see it every day. So welcome, Ginger, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
So let's talk about advocacy. And there is so much going on. I just want to give you the floor. Talk to us about what's happening in the industry and how is it going to affect our industry? And are we in a place of danger where it might hurt us?
Well, there has been a lot going on in Alabama, and I'm sure elsewhere, because it's pretty much the legislative season right now for many states. I know South Carolina is in the middle of their legislative session. Alabama is as well. And things are happening, not necessarily behind closed doors, but that people may not know about until someone tells them, because there's hundreds upon hundreds of bills that are introduced into the state legislatures every year. And unless you have someone that's monitoring these bills, or unless you're reading them every day, which, I mean, who has time to do that, then you're not going to know what's happening. So recently in Alabama, we were notified. When I say we, I mean, we're part of a political organization called GUMBO, which stands for Gulf United Metro Business Organization. And it's pretty much just a coalition of business owners that have come together and lobby for tourism and protections for local businesses. And we were notified that there was a bill that was being proposed by Airbnb. At first, it wasn't told to us it was an Airbnb bill. We just realized somebody read the bill and said, well, this is being put forth in front of the Department of Insurance. And I start reading it, and I'm like, first of all, I had to read it about 10 times to even get like the gist of what the bill did. And I'm like, if you can't read it once or twice and understand what the purpose of the bill is, then you have to look a little bit further. So as politics normally go, people talk, and I get a call, and I'm told that Airbnb has hired a lobbyist in Alabama, a very powerful lobbying firm. And this bill is not a Department of Insurance bill. It is an Airbnb bill that is being put forth as an insurance department bill. And I'm like, of course it is. So we find out that, and when I say we in this instance, I mean myself and my husband, Hunter, find out that it's going in front of the insurance committee of the State House of Representatives. And we find this out like a day before it's on the schedule. We book a hotel room in Montgomery, and we leave the next day. And we enter, and the committee rooms are smaller. There's probably 10 committee members. They're all part of the House of Representatives. And there was supposed to be a public hearing. Well, then they took the public hearing away on it.
So then it became private.
Yeah. And we did get an opportunity to speak to some of the members after, I guess, the hearing. I don't know what to call it, after it was put forth in front of the committee. And there was questions asked by the representatives, but they didn't vote right at that moment. But anyway, we got to talk to some of these individuals one-on-one afterwards. And basically what the bill did was it codified the guarantee product that Airbnb is currently offering.
The insurance product?
Correct. But they wanted to specifically note in the law that it's not insurance. It was a guarantee that would be regulated by the Department of Insurance that isn't insurance.
That's very confusing. So how can you regulate something that's not insurance? That doesn't make sense. It seems like they went to the wrong people. Why did they go to the insurance?
What was explained to us was that it would be similar to a home warranty product where, home warranties are not insurance. And we know how home warranties work. I mean, anybody that's really been in real estate or purchased multiple properties, I don't buy home warranties anymore. But I think what makes it different now that I'm actually talking this out further is that this is not something currently that Airbnb charges for. It is just a product that they give as part of, quote unquote, using their platform. So that also begs the question, if you're trying to pass legislation to codify your guarantee that is not insurance, what other purpose would that be for? Would it be to possibly charge for that product in the future? Would it be to shield liability? Insurance laws are pretty staunch. So in insurance, you have to make a claimant whole. With a guarantee product or home warranty product, I think the purpose would be to say, we don't have to make the claimant whole. There's going to be broad discretion on what we pay for. And anyone that's actually filed a claim for Airbnb already knows that it takes, multiple correspondences, multiple pictures. There's more reasons to deny one of those claims than there is with Airbnb.
Oh, as a homeowner, yes. But if I'm a guest, I just give them a lollipop and they're happy and they give me my money back.
Right. Correct. So I couldn't get straight answers. So we went to Montgomery and we were talking to these legislatures, and a lot of them couldn't even tell us what they thought the purpose was. And, the goal of the legislature in Alabama or any state would be to protect consumers or protect citizens. It's certainly not to aid a San Francisco company to protect them further. And I think tied into the issue with the Alabama Tourism Protection Act, which goes back to 2024, we were able to get written into Alabama law that where a property manager represents a home, we must be merchant of record.
Oh, I'm sure it has to do with that. But I'm trying to figure out how it has to do with that, but I'm sure it has something to do with that. And guys, if you're not familiar with this, Ginger, just walk through real quickly why merchant of record is important, what it is, and why it was so important.
So merchant of record is the party in a transaction that holds the funds. So typically on Vrbo or Booking.com, property management companies are the merchant of record. When someone books a reservation, the money moves to the holding company or property management company pretty quickly, almost immediately. Well, Airbnb is the only company that decides to hold the funds until 24 hours after a guest checks in the property.
After the guest arrives. You don't get money until after the guest arrives.
And if you're operating at scale down here, we have to purchase things before a guest gets here. Swim bands. We have to purchase parking passes. Some, condo complexes require additional purchases. Like there are things that go into managing these reservations and the funds that they're holding for parking bans, swim passes, and all of that we're front loading for months.
Well, not only that, but the fact of the matter is you are a real estate broker. You have a fiduciary duty to that homeowner and to the guest, both. And if you don't have the money, it's kind of hard to maintain fiduciary duty to that particular party, whichever it is.
Right. And so we are under lots of responsibility and legal responsibility at that. I mean, Alabama law is a licensed law state, which means in order to hold funds from a real estate rental, you must be a licensed broker in the state of Alabama. It's plain as day.
Okay. So now I just want to say to everybody out there, if you're in Florida, don't lose focus here because this can affect you too. I know you don't have to hold license the same way we do in North Carolina, Alabama, and other states, but just give this a little time and let us play out what we're talking about here, and you'll see how this can affect you as well. One of the things I just want to say to people out there, merchant of record guys, big important thing. There was an incident where after the guests left, in their yard, I think was some sort of snake, and they got all of their money back.
Is that one of our properties?
Tell us what happened, because I think this is genuinely a situation where property managers anywhere, even if you're in the mountains and you have bears, even if you're, in snow areas and you have wild animals, this could happen to you. It's not far-fetched. So tell us what happened.
In Gulf Shores, there's this area called Fort Morgan. It's unincorporated, but there's Gulf Shores and street addresses. Well, it's a little bit more, out in the wild wilderness. There's a fort down there. So people that are traveling to that area specifically are looking for a little bit, away from the hustle and bustle of downtown Gulf Shores or Orange Beach. So it is kind of more out in the wild. We managed a house down there and there was a snake in the yard. They called us. Okay. We sent a maintenance guy down there. Of course, the snake wasn't there when he got down there. Well, the guests claimed to see it again. So we went back down there again, tried to find it. Of course, we're putting snake away and mothballs and doing what we can. But again, this is outside of a property, not inside, and didn't hear anything else from the guest.
The mothballs worked. They do actually work. I have a house out in the wild. That seems to work quite well, actually.
So this was a 4th of July reservation. 4th of July is our number one producing week out of the entire year. You're getting the most rental income. Everyone knows it. They leave. We didn't hear anything else. Thought they must be happy. Well, they called Airbnb and talked to someone, I'm sure, in the Philippines. I don't know where they talked to them. Claimed under the dangerous animal policy that they were entitled to a refund. And this is months later. Airbnb issued a full refund for their stay over 4th of July week. And we had already paid the owner out. I mean, we're talking over $5,000. Like, paid him out, closed the statement. It's months later. And, we were able to come to a resolution and they ended up coming back and working with us on that situation. But they didn't even call us before they issued the full refund to the guest. We had to then chase them down multiple times saying, this can't be. This is so unfair. Like, what are you doing? And then we had an incident last year. Spring breakers under 25, they've agreed to our rules and regulations, part of our contract. You have to be 25. You can't break the law. If the police show up, you're ejected. Well, Airbnb issues them a full refund at spring break week. And again, months later, not even calling our office before, no communication from the account rep.
Okay, so let's just talk about this and let's talk about fiduciary duty, guys. I know you think about it and you're like, oh, that's a lot of money to eat, but it's not just that. The fact of the matter is, as real estate brokers, or agents, you have the fiduciary duty to take care of that owner and to guard that money. That's why we have trust accounting in North Carolina. We don't have it in every state, but that's why trust accounting exists. It's so that the monies aren't arbitrarily thrown out like that. And that was an arbitrary thing. Because, guys, let me tell you, if you're going anywhere in the South, just in case you wondered, there are snakes. There really are. And there are crocodiles. And you think about the kinds of things that could happen where you are. So getting back to the point, the merchant of record is very important. So let's talk about this not insurance product that they want regulated. So where does it go from here, Ginger? And where do you think that's going?
Well, we were able to work closely with our state senator, Chris Elliott. And I don't know if he'll ever see this podcast, but I want to thank him profusely from the bottom of my heart for actually listening. Because like any politician, he's reviewing hundreds of bills. He's getting contacted by constituents, elected officials. He's very busy. But he said, as soon as I took the time to actually sit down and study what you sent me, he goes, you were right. There's no gray area. You are right. And it's not necessarily about like the insurance bill. It's the fact that they're not complying with the merchant of record provision of the Alabama Tourism Protection Act and of our Alabama real estate laws. And so why would we as Alabamians pass a favorable bill or favorable law to codify some guarantee product when you're not even following the existing laws on the books? It doesn't make any sense. And that's not what the legislature should be doing, in my humble opinion. And so Chris was able to sit down with them, and they've flown in people from New York and they've flown in people from California, and they're getting a lot of pressure to pass this. And it's like, it was presented to us down here in Gulf Shores and Orange Beach as, oh, this is a benign bill. This is something there, it doesn't really have an impact. What is it going to impact your business? Well, that's not really the point. The point is, if they can't follow the existing laws, why would they be getting something favorable? Like, it makes no sense. And so we worked together with some other property management companies, and we actually worked with the tourism department, Orange Beach and Gulf Shores Tourism. We sent a letter to Senator Elliott that was signed by over 20 individuals representing the majority of properties that are for rent in Orange Beach and Gulf Shores. letting them know, letting the senators know that this issue is important to us and that we don't believe that they're playing fairly in Alabama. And that was able to kind of stop it because it had passed in the House and that it was going to possibly pass in the Senate. And that's where we were able to come together and say, this is not okay. Like, this will give them a pathway for other OTAs to do the same thing. And not only will it affect us, it will affect banks in Alabama. I mean, we use a community bank and we're one of the largest, if not the largest, depositors for that bank. And we are doing what we're supposed to. We're holding funds in an escrow account, and banks use how much funds they have under management to get borrowing power and to do all these other things that go on in the banking world. And if we suddenly pull that rug out from under them, again, that's another local business that's affected. It's another local bank. That's an Alabama bank, all the while making Airbnb richer because they're holding their funds offshore, making, I think, an estimated over $800 million in interest alone from the money they hold on their accounts. $800 million.
So they have a lot of penny reasons to be able to do the things they're doing. So what's next here?
So the city of Orange Beach, we passed a resolution at the last council meeting asking for our city attorney to ask the attorney general for an opinion on whether Airbnb is in compliance with Alabama law. Because from a city perspective, they're doing the same thing. So like local management companies, we have to provide detailed accounting reporting to the cities every month for lodging taxes. We have to break it down by I mean, it's quite the process. Airbnb sends them a mystery payment with no documentation.
This episode of the Vacation Rental Show is sponsored by RevMax, the premier full-service revenue management system built for vacation rental managers who are looking for a market edge. RevMax offers data-driven tools and services that will increase revenue and drive more profit. Connect with their revenue management experts at getrevmax.com and discover their full-service revenue management solution. You'll be glad you did. So here's the thing. I'm sure they're not only one. So guys out there, anyone who is interested in helping in this situation or is interested in the situation to know more, what would you suggest that they send a letter to their attorney general and suggest they do the same thing? We all want to know because we pay our taxes. As property managers, we're the ones that pay our taxes. We know where those tax dollars are going. We know where there's the city, there's the county, or there's even just different area taxes that we have to pay.
And I mean, it becomes a fairness issue. I mean, like a local company shouldn't have more detailed reporting than, $80 billion company. Like if we have to comply with the law, they have to comply with the law too. Just like if I pay taxes, I expect you to pay taxes too. And, we're not asking for special treatment. It's never been about special treatment. It's about equal treatment. Treat us equally. It's frustrating because they have all the money in the world and they come into states like Alabama and they hire very powerful lobbying groups. And they sometimes, a lot of times, get exactly what they want because no one is on the other side saying, hey, this is a problem, or hey, we have concerns over this law or bill because of X, Y, and Z. And that's always been a problem in the vacation rental world. And I've talked about it. If you've ever listened to me on a podcast before, it's the fragmented nature of our business. I mean, hotels, they've got it figured out. I mean, there's only a few major brands. They've got basically a coalition. Vacation rentals, a lot of it is small business. It's mom and pop shops. I think most vacation rental management companies manage less than 50 properties. And that's small business. That's the heart of America. And I just think that we've got to figure out a better way. And when I say a better way, I have a lot of respect for everyone at Burma. I do. But once you let the OTAs come in and sponsor and give money, and then their interests become adverse or not on the same page as property managers' interests, then you have a problem because you're serving two masters. What are we going to do here? And I think over the last few years, the most important issues that have come before legislation are really being pushed by OTAs and disservice to property managers and the people that are actually running the operation. So I don't have any quick answers on that, but my number one suggestion would be to know your local legislators, like go to city council meetings, introduce yourselves, and, get to know your state senators or state reps. Try to see if there is an organization like GUMBO or a political PAC, or if there is a possibility of forming a coalition, or if there's a tourism department. Those are also great resources. And sometimes it takes getting up there. I tell people, I feel like I'm just like on this like perpetual like shoebox, like just shouting the same message over and over again. But eventually people get it. It's like Senator Elliott, he was like, finally, I got what you were saying. And that's another issue, is that it takes a little bit of education and a little bit of time to get up to speed on some of these issues. Because a lot of people think, oh, well, Airbnb is just an advertising website. You pay them what it used to be, a yearly fee, and you get to list your property. And they don't understand all the stuff that's happened in the background over the last several years that just continues to rip control away from people that are legally responsible for the control.
Now, listen to that again, guys. I just want you to hear that, because it does. They are taking control away from the people who are legally responsible. That's you. And in the long run, what they're after is more revenue, and that's less revenue for you. And not that there's not enough to go around. There's plenty to share, but there's a lot more involved than that. Ginger, what other things have been happening?
And I hate to keep punching on them, but like now they've created almost, dare I say, an illegal marketplace, because they are promoting co-hosts and co-host companies. Again, let's go back to what Alabama law states. Alabama law states, in order to hold another person's money that's renting real estate in Alabama, you must be licensed. And you can find a co-host through Airbnb.com. And a lot of the co-hosts don't have a storefront. Alabama broker law, or Alabama real estate law rather, requires a storefront and a licensed broker to operate. So we have co-hosts that are now managing properties in Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. And I'm talking about 40 plus properties, calling themselves a co-hosting company, that do not have any local employees, no local presence. They're using vendors and coordinating everything online. But what happens to the consumer if, an emergency happens at the property? Are they going to call their cleaner to go show up at 3 a.m.? Are they going to be able to get them on the phone? I think that their goal is to kind of eliminate the people that are the professionals in the industry. And it's heartbreaking, because obviously, if you built a business like we have, where you're managing 350 properties, you're obviously doing a pretty good job, or you wouldn't have the business that you have. And you're obviously abiding by the law and ethical standards. And this is our 10th season, built it from 14 properties to now over 350. And they should have to follow the laws like we do. And we are the best at what we do, along with, all the other professional management companies in the area, at providing the experience to the customer. We're the people that have the linen program. We're the people that, make sure there's a professional quality clean. How are these co-hosting companies doing any type of quality assurance checks? I mean, they certainly can't be doing it for themselves if they're managing 40 properties from New York. I like to use this analogy. It would be like someone has built a brick and mortar restaurant, and they've been one of the most popular seafood restaurants in town. They've paid for their business license, and they've gone through the food permitting classes, and they've hired all their employees. And all of a sudden they wake up and they look out the window, and there's 20 food trucks outside their door selling almost the same product that they're selling, but a little bit discounted, maybe not the same quality. And they don't have a food permit, and they don't have a business license that was issued the proper way. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, it gets to be a little bit deflating, but it's just, no one would stand for that. And no one should stand for this.
Well, it's not legal.
It's not.
I mean, it's not. That's the thing about it. The thing about it is, it's not that it's unethical. I mean, it is if you're treating your guests wrong. But even if you're being kind and nice and everything, the whole thing is illegal. So what other kinds of things have you seen recently happening on that front?
Well, I mean, I know that I was on LinkedIn the other day, and I can't remember who posted it, but it was another professional property management company. And did you see this? They refunded a guest from 5 years ago, a stay that happened 5 years ago.
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I'll send it to you after we get off. But yeah, I took a screenshot. I'm like, this is absurd. 5 years go by and some guest gets a refund. And then the blocking of the phone numbers. Like, can we just sit back and ask ourselves, like, what is going to best service the customer? Because we're all in the hospitality business. And you want to block us being able to actually effectively and accurately communicate with someone staying in one of the properties that we have a fiduciary duty to represent?
Let's talk about this. It's not only are they blocking the numbers, and I'm just going to tell you this. I hope they don't block me, but I'm just telling you this. When I go overseas, I do Airbnb because I know that as a consumer, if I have a problem, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about reaching out to the property management company because I know Airbnb will cover my butt with anything, even if it's not ethical. I know they will. So do the hosts there, because what happens is not only do they block the number, guys, but in the messaging back and forth between the guest and the host, you can't even spell it out or put it in funky letters or anything. They make it so that you can't do that. Now, I'm a pretty smart programmer. I know ways to get around it. And I had trouble booking one of my stays in Europe recently. And so I gave the person my WhatsApp information so they were able to get in touch with me. And they were like, oh, yeah, if you'll wire me the money, I will give you a discount. And I said, no, I really appreciate that. And that's because I knew those protections. And it's not just consumer. Look, we look out for consumer protections, but whose job is it to look out for consumer protections? It's the person that's licensed to do that.
And it's like, he would go to a barber that wasn't licensed, a doctor. It's just like, what other industry or what other operation can you think of where you just don't have to be licensed and just like can operate just willy-nilly? Wait, everything's okay. Everything's all good. I hope they don't block us, but I have heard, and I don't know whether it's true or not, oh, if they don't like us, you can leave the platform. And that is one argument. Yes, we could. However, I think now there's a homeowner expectation that you be listed on Airbnb because they have done a great job at marketing, and that it's like Band-Aid. No one knows Band-Aid. So getting over that hump of like trying to explain to owners what has happened, it would be difficult. I think the last I checked, I think it was like only 12% of our bookings in the last year have come from Airbnb. So it wouldn't be like this huge shit. And we've actually thought about just kind of deplatforming ourselves. But again, it's like the marketing battle with homeowners. And then that puts you at a competitive disadvantage. If a homeowner comes in to talk to you about your property management services and they know Airbnb and Vrbo by name, and then you have to explain, well, we're not listing on Airbnb because they're not complying with the law. And I mean, that is true. They are not complying with Alabama law. They are not. We'll see what the attorney general says. I mean, don't take my word for it. I'm just Ginger Harrelson, and I am a licensed attorney in Alabama, but that's just my opinion as a person, an individual that has read the law, is pretty familiar with it, but I'm not obviously the final say-so, and we will wait for the final say-so in that respect. But it will be very interesting to see what the attorney general says to have some of this resolved.
Explain so everybody understands. What is the significance of asking the attorney general to give an opinion?
Well, for some reason, Airbnb believes they're in compliance with Alabama law. They haven't told us or told me or anyone that I speak with, including our local representatives at the State House, the reason why they believe that they're in compliance. So I would love to hear the reasoning, because I've thought through the issue, probably spend more time thinking about it than probably is healthy for an individual to think about an issue. But I can't come up with a reason why they believe they're in compliance with Alabama real estate law that says that you must be a licensed broker and hold escrow funds in an FDIC insured account in Alabama. That is what Alabama law states. You cannot engage in property management services. I'm sure they're going to come up with we're a banking site. Well, no, you're not. You're not like PayPal. You're not like Venmo. You're not like Amazon. You're not shipping products directly to consumer. Like, no, you are engaging activity that falls under Alabama real estate license law. But the significance is that we'll have an opinion that says they're either in compliance or they're not in compliance, and they should be either, I don't know, forced is the word or whatever. If you want to continue to operate in the state of Alabama, then you're going to come into compliance with our laws, and you're going to treat the laws the same as other local companies treat them. Again, we're not asking for special treatment. That is not the message. The message is, if we have to comply with tax laws, you have to comply with tax laws.
I'd be interested in how they get around the North Carolina law of advertising real estate online without a license.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested too.
I'd be interested in that, because I actually got my license to begin with so many years ago because I wanted to do a similar OTA website just for North Carolina and be able to put everything there was to do in those areas up there. And I had to get a license for that. So I am interested in that. And I know that we have really good people in North Carolina looking into this. We have people that we know of in other states that are joining in to look at this with us. Is there a possibility that Airbnb could retaliate against people who are trying to make them comply with the law? Because we care about it. And I know that eventually, if the state legislatures and the local tax authorities know about it, surely someone is interested other than us.
Right. Absolutely. I think there's been conversations from what I've heard, again, not representing this as fact, but from what I've heard, there's been conversations where Airbnb has threatened to pull out of the state of Alabama, has threatened to pull out of the state of South Carolina if they don't get their way in certain legislation that's before those bodies.
Yeah. Now let's talk about that, because that is a lot of money for them. That is a ton of money. So I've heard rumors about something similar with that. And they're rumors, guys. I'm just saying they're rumors. They may or may not be based on actual fact. I won't say if they are not. But I mean, I think it's a big deal. I think it's a real big deal, guys. Everybody who's listening, it is a big deal. That I will tell you. And we have to land on the right side of the law on this. And we need to land on the right side of advocacy on this, advocating for professional property managers and not on the side of non-licensed individuals that would like to hold the money for our renters. That's all we have time for today, guys. But trust me, you do not want to miss what comes next. Join me next week for part 2 of my conversation with Ginger Harrelson, where we move from understanding the problem to actually taking action. We're going to talk about the unlicensed co-hosting crisis that's happening right now in your market, what OTA noncompliance is actually costing you in tax dollars, and how to get personally involved in advocacy no matter what state you're in, and Ginger's #1 marketing strategy that built a community of over 115,000 people, guys. You're not going to want to miss it. This episode of the Vacation Rental Show is brought to you by RevMax. To find out more about how RevMax can help grow your vacation rental business, visit getrevmax.com. Make sure to search for the Vacation Rental Show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.